Hello, hello. Hi there, and welcome to another IELTS journey with Fabi, where we talk about everything and anything IELTS. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher, and I help people prove their English level so we can then study, work, okay, or live abroad. All right. So if you want to study abroad, you need the IELTS test. If you want to live abroad, you need the IELTS test. Why? Because you need to prove your English. Okay, guys, you need to prove your English. All right. So, hey, Vicky, how are you? How are you doing? Send me a message later and let me know what you're up to. Vicky is a former student of mine. Send me a message. Hello, hello. Yeah, guys, tell me where you're watching from. I'd like to know where you're watching from. Today, we're going to talk about writing. Top favorite. Everyone talks about going to talk about writing. And guys, I'm just going to put the link here. One second. Because again, lots of people go to Instagram to see me. Okay. But now I've been using YouTube a little bit more because I didn't know, but I can share my screen on YouTube. And today I'm going to share my screen with you there too. So if you're watching me on Instagram, click on the link and go to YouTube right here. Okay. So, and again, this live today is special because the IELTS Booster Workshop is coming. It starts on the 26th of May. 3 lessons. Okay, guys. So we're going to have lessons on the 26th, 28th, and 30th of May. Okay, 3 lessons. I'll tell you everything about the IELTS test. Okay, I will tell you the mistakes my students make. I will tell you how to fix the mistakes. I will explain what the IELTS is like. And if you have been following me, you know that I get a lot of questions. I get questions on my inbox, on Instagram, DMs. I get questions on stories now. Now I started those little boxes, so many questions. And I will deal with some of these questions in the workshop too. And as I say, your question is usually the question that a lot of people have. So I have piles and piles of questions. So I got the most common ones, and I'm going to share that with you there too. Okay. And everything's going to be compiled in 3 days. All right. So if you are ready to start your IELTS journey, don't know where to go. If you're watching me on YouTube, the link will be in the description of this video. Click there, join, it's free. If you're watching me on Instagram and you'd like to join right now, just type join in the comments and or go to the link in the bio. Okie dokie. Okay, some people from Colombia, hello. If you want to tell me where you're watching me from, I love to know where you're watching me from. All right, good. So today we're going to talk about writing. Okay, we're going to talk about writing today. And more specifically, okay, let me check here. I'm going to tell you what the IELTS writing is like, if you don't know that yet. I'll tell you how the examiner checks your score. That's when I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to tell you the most common types of task 2. So you will see that our focus today will be more task 2. We focus more on task 2 because on the IELTS test, task 2 is the one that is worth more points. Okay, that's why. And I'm going to give you 4 strategies to apply today. If you are studying for the IELTS test, I'm going to tell you 4 things that you can apply today. All right. And also 2 secrets. Why is it a secret? Because every time I tell my students that, they are quite surprised. They go, oh my God, I didn't know this. And it helps them so much. So 2 secrets that will help you. Okay. Get to the 7. All right. Vicky said, awesome. Yay, Vicky. Cool. Okay, guys. So if you want to see my screen, click on the link and go to YouTube. All right. And you can also send me messages on YouTube. All right. Goody, goody. Let's get started. So, um, On the IELTS test, the writing part, we have two tasks. So every time you are going to do something about the IELTS or people start talking about the IELTS test, the writing part, you probably hear people saying task one, task two, task one, task two. Yes, that is right. There are two tasks. Okay. So when you go do the IELTS test, you have a shorter text or shorter task and then a longer one. Okay. And as you probably know, if you have been watching me for for the past week, there are two types of tests. There is the right there is the academic IELTS and there's also the general IELTS. Okay, so if you're going to do the academic IELTS, task one is like a report. Okay, so task one for the academic, you will get a picture, a visual. It could be a graph, it could be a chart, it could be a pie chart, it could be a bar chart, it could be a diagram, it could be a process, it could be a map. Whoa. So many things you could get. That's task one. So you can have that. And then you have to describe it. That's task one for academic. So, guys, I don't think this is very complicated, but lots of people struggle with it because they say that they can't understand the chart. There are lots of strategies to improve that. I share that with my students in my course. Okay. So, just so you know, there are about 6 or 7 different types of images or visuals that you can get. Okay. Just so you know. And then you get the visual, and what do? You go ahead and you write about it. You have 20 minutes. You don't have 20 minutes. 20 minutes is recommended. All right. But then you have to write more than 150 words. More than. Okay. It's not a limit, it's more than 150 words. Okay. That's task one for academic. Task two for academic is an essay. And usually, when I'm talking about writing, I'm usually talking about the essay because the essay is worth double the points compared to the first one. Okay. And you have different types of questions. I'm going to talk about those types of questions later today with you. But you have 5 or 6 different types of questions. And the recommended time is 40 minutes. Okay. You have 40 minutes to do it, and you have to write more than 250 words. More than. They say at least. Okay, at least 250 words. Okay, so that's task one. Sorry, that's academic. Task one, you have an image, you have to write about it, more than 150 words. Task two, different types of questions, and you have around 40 minutes to do it, more than 250 words. Sounds good? Let me know if you're with me. Okay, Vicky. Oh, Vicky, cool. You're on YouTube. Cool, Vicky. I'm gonna share my screen, so it's very good that you're here. Okay, are you with me? Cool. Next, now let's talk about the general IELTS because remember, I have 2 different types. The general IELTS. The general IELTS also has 2 tasks. Task one is a letter. We say letter, but to me, it's more like an email because no one writes letters anymore, right? So no one writes letters anymore. So there are still some people on Instagram. Guys, if you're watching me on Instagram, there is a link there. You can click on it, and that will take you to YouTube. And I would like you to be on YouTube today because I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So, general writing, task one is a letter. Okay, so they give you what they want you to talk about, and you go and you talk about it. And they recommend 20 minutes to do it. They recommend 20 minutes. And you have to write more than 150 words, very similar to academic. And then task 2 is the same as the academic. Essay, recommended time 40 minutes. How many words? More than 250. More than 250. All right? So that's basically it. That's what the test is like. All right? Are we following? Are we good? You can even let me know in the comments if you have tried it already. I know Vicky has. Okay, guys. So let me know if you have tried it already. Okay. Now, so I just told you what the test is like. Okay. Yeah. And remember that task 2 is worth double the point. So in my course, for example, we do writings every week. We start with writing task 2. And do you remember, Vicky? So we do writings every single week. We talk about writing task 2 every single week. Okay? That's it. All right? Because it's double the point. It's worth double the points. Goody, goody? All right, cool. Now it's when I share my screen with you. Okay, let me just organize this here. 1 second. Where is it? Here. All right, cool. So I'm actually going to get, yeah, so this is one that I used. Yep. I'm just going to move this here so I can show you guys. All right, cool. I'm going to share my screen with you. Share the screen. This one, go. So as you can see, I've already taken some notes here. Okay. Because with this one here, I was helping a student who needed a 7. All right. Because this is exactly how the examiner is going to check your writing. You do the writing for the examiner. That's what he or she is going to look at. Okay. So they are going, I'm going to use yellow. Okay. Oops, yellow here. So they are going to look at task response. Oh, it's blue. It's okay. They are going to look at your task response. What is task response? Task response is, did you do what they asked? Did you do what they asked? Okay. Then coherence and cohesion is, did it make sense? Did it make sense? And of course, coherence and cohesion, these cohesive devices are also included. But what are the cohesive devices? Cohesive devices are words such as however, even though, moreover, on the other hand, in addition, for example. You have to use those. And that's where, here is where they look at it. Lexical resource is what? Vocabulary. Okay. And grammar and range accuracy, it's grammar. So it's extremely important for you to know how they check your test. And as you can see, they have it for all of them here. I don't have task 1 here at the moment, but it's okay. All right, it's very similar. So task 1, the only thing that will change is task achievement here. And then coherence and cohesion is the same thing. Okay, guys, very similar. And again, like I said before, when I'm working with my students, I tend to focus on task 2 because task 2 is more important. Okay, we do task 1 too, but task 2 is way more important. All right, okay. So as you can see here, they tell you exactly what you need to do, what you need to have to achieve a score. So if you are practicing for the IELTS test and you have help, you have feedback, and the person who's helping you tells you you are a 6, but you want to be a 7, it's a good idea to look at this. Okay, as you can see here, I do this with my students. Okay, I tell them where they are because this is extremely important. But again, if you want this, I'm sure you will. You will find this in my stories. Okay, guys, you will find a link so you can download because this is public. Anyone can have it. Okay, this is public. Where does it say public? You should say public here. Okay, this is public. Anyone can have it. Okay. And so if you want to have a look at it, you can. Okay. However, it might be a little tricky for you to understand by yourself at first. It's good to have someone who's an IELTS specialist or expert to help you with this. Okay, but it's good to have. And maybe if you have an expert helping you, okay, the person give the feedback, tell you everything about it, and from then on you can maybe have a look at it by yourself. Okay, but it can be tricky for you to look at it by yourselves because this is like language for teachers. Okay, so and it's always good to have someone who knows more than us to explain things. Okay, but this is how they check it. So all of these details are important, but for you guys today, I think the most important thing is this. When they are checking your writing, they want to know, did you do what I asked? Task response. Did it make sense? Coherence and cohesion. Did the person use good vocabulary? Lexical resource. Did the person use good grammar correctly? Grammar range and accuracy. So when you're doing your test, that's what you have to think about. Sounds good? Sounds good, pairing. Okay, I'm going to go back to you guys. Cool. All right. Guys, if you have questions, you can pop the questions in. And if I can get to the question straight away, I'll get to it at the end. All right. So that's how they check your writing. Was this new to you? If this was new to you, you can write in the comments. You can send me a emoji with a surprise face like, I didn't know this. This is new. All right, cool. Now, oh yeah, now let me tell you about the different types of questions. Okay, so there are 6 types that are the most common ones. 5 types, actually. 5 types. There's another one that is not that common, but there's usually 5 types. Okay, so for task 2, okay, we're going to talk about task 2 now. There is one that is called agree disagree. Okay, so they will have a statement and they will ask you to either agree or disagree. Okay, that's one. One, it's what they call discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, that's another type. Another one is called problem and solution. All right. So they describe a situation and they ask you to describe the problems and also some solutions for that problem. Okay. Advantages and disadvantages. All right. There is one that is just 2 questions. Okay, just 2 questions. These are the 5 most common ones. And there is one that is not that common, but sometimes you might get it, which is your opinion. So they have a statement and they go, what's your opinion? That's it. Okay, so that's another one that is quite common too. So we have 6 different types. 5, one that is not that common. Okay, guys. But what I have seen recently, so I have some students who did the test recently. They had a lot of agree, disagree. For a while, people were getting a lot of the discuss both views. Okay. And the 2 questions, not that common. Advantages, yes. Problem solution, also not that common. All right. But again, what is your job? Your job is to practice all of them. My course is basically based on each type of question. Okay, so that's how I build my course because I want my students to experience all of these ones before they do the test. I really want them to experience it so they're not surprised on the day of the test. All right, goody goody. And if you want to know more about the IELTS and the first steps, if you want to know about mistakes people make, how to fix these mistakes, and details about the IELTS test, join the workshop IELTS Booster with me, Fabi. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. If you're watching me on YouTube, the link is in the bio. If you're watching me on Instagram, if you just type join here, you'll be able to access it. All right, guys, join. We have what? I was talking to my team. We have what, 300 people already for the workshop? About 300, I think, but I'm not sure now. Last time I checked was about 300. All right, cool. Now, okay. Now, I'm going to tell you a few things that you can do to improve your writing. And if you're practicing, you can do it right now. If you're practicing, you can do it right now. One thing you can do: use paragraphs. Use paragraphs. Fabi, but I use paragraphs. Yeah, but you have to use the correct ones. All right, guys, because remember, task achievement. Task achievement. Okay. Task achievement is that one that I showed you. Did you do what they asked? Usually, if you don't have paragraphs, your task achievement is low. And if you don't have paragraphs, the examiner might be a little bit confused and you're going to lose points. So, using paragraphs is extremely important. Okay. So, that is the first thing you can apply today. Okay. But if you say, oh, Fabi, I'm already using paragraphs, double check, because I have lots of students who say they're using paragraphs, but at the end of the day, they're not. Double check your paragraphs. Okay. That's why it's important to have an IELTS expert helping you. Okay, guys? That's why. Because then the person can tell you, you have to work on this, you have to work on that. Okay, cool. Now, another one, when it comes to coherence and cohesion, remember? Task achievement. So the examiner is going to look at your task achievement, right? How to improve that? Use paragraphs. Then the examiner is going to look at coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion is your writing flowing well? Okay. Best way to improve that? Use cohesive devices. What are cohesive devices? Cohesive devices is the same as linking words, conjunctions. Okay, these are all cohesive devices and they have specific names, but the broader name is cohesive devices. If you want a high score on the IELTS test, you need those and you need to use them correctly. So, what is something you can do right now to improve your score? Look at them, revise them. If you have an expert helping you, ask the expert, how am I doing with cohesive devices? Okay. And the person can give you some feedback. And if you haven't thought about it, haven't been using it, now is the time to start. So that's something else you can do to improve your coherence and cohesion. Now, remember, task achievement, coherence, and cohesion. Now I'm going to talk about lexical resource, which is basically vocabulary, right? Okay, so vocabulary can be a problem. All right. And what happens most of the time is people will say, oh, Fabi, when I'm doing the test, I can think of any words. Well, that can happen because you feel very nervous. All right. However, guys, if you're practicing, I think you remember some words. Okay. So my advice for you now is practice. Oh, Fabi, that's kind of obvious. Yes, it's obvious, but a lot of people don't do it. Okay. So if you want to improve your score when it comes to lexical resource, okay, my recommendation is try to read more, listen to more things on topics related to the IELTS test. Oh, Fabi, but I can go online, type IELTS list, most common words on the IELTS test, and get a list. Yes, you can. But personally speaking, I don't think lists are very good. I personally like, and I recommend my students read something. Why? Because if you have a list, you just have the word. How do you use that word? Let's say what most people do: get the word, get a translation. You're not learning how to use it. If you read it, you're going to see the words being used. And that's much, much better. Okay. So, yes, my tip, my recommendation, my strategy here is very simple: practice more. Vocabulary, yes, but it's not just the practice, it's how you practice. Okay. My recommendation is think about the topics you see in the writing part of the IELTS test. Think about the topics you see in the reading part of the IELTS test. These are the most common topics on the IELTS test. You don't have to Google it, you have it right there. So, what do you do with it? You get some texts. What do you do with it? You get some listenings. I always recommend my students listen to TED Talks. This can also help you with their listening. Okay, so that's my recommendation for lexical resource. Okay, and then for grammar, um, there, like in my course, for example, there are 5 grammar topics that I always talk about. Okay, we have specific lessons for those. My students have homework because these are, let's say, the most common. I wouldn't say the most common. I think these are the most important things so they can get a 7 or more. Okay, but that's just the start. The most important thing for you is for you to know the mistakes you are making. And that's when the expert comes again. You do the writing, you get someone to check it for you, and then the person says, oh, you have problems with this grammar, and this grammar. And what do? Try to improve. Okay, guys. I was helping a student, and one of my students, I told him for 2 months, you have this grammar mistake, that grammar mistake. Like, okay, Fabi, are you improving? I will. He never did. He did a real test. He got 6.5, couldn't get the 7 just because of that. And I told him, man, this and that. And he was like, oh, yeah, Fabi, I'll do it. But he never did. Okay, guys. So again, I'm here to help you, but you also have to put in the work, right? You have to put in the work. Okay, so if you want to improve your grammar, it's not just any grammar. My recommendation is always the grammar that you need. Sounds good? Okay. All right. Goody. Okay. So today we have been talking about IELTS writing. Okay. So we talked about what the test is like, both parts, task 1 and task 2. We talked about how the examiner is going to check your writing. Very, very important. And you can grab that from my stories. Okay. If you can find it, send me a DM on Instagram. Okay. And then also we talked about what else talked about? Forgot. Oh my God, my list here. Oh yeah, we talked about how the test, how the examiner is going to check your test. Or we talked about the most common types of IELTS writing. Task 2, not task 1. Talked about task 2, right? And I just told you some important strategies that you can apply today, right now, to your IELTS writing. Okay. And now I'm going to tell you 2 secrets that I share with my students. Okay, 2 secrets. And I call it a secret because every time I tell them to do it, they go, I never heard of it before. And then they try it and it really works. So that's why I call it a secret. Okay, cool. Secret number 1 is make a plan. Yeah, you have to make a plan. You shouldn't write anything without making a plan. Oh, Fabi, this is not a secret. I've heard it before. Have you tried it? Have you? I know when my students don't make a plan. I know it. I read their writing and I go, do you make a plan? They go, no. And I said, oh, that's why this is a 6, not a 6.5. And then I help them. And then the next time around, they make a plan and they improve. So, guys, you have to make a plan. For the people who are going to do the IELTS test on the computer, okay, my recommendation is usually when you're going to do the test on the computer, they give you a piece of paper that I think they have your code or something, okay, and you have a pen. And so you can use that piece of paper to make your notes, okay, to make your plan. Or when you are going to do the IELTS test on the computer, when you have the question, so you have where you have to type here and the question here. If you go to this section and right click, you are going to have a box for notes. So I always tell my students, write your plan on those notes. I personally like to write my plan in by hand. That's just something personal. Okay, I have been doing some writings recently because I'm doing a course at a university here in Australia. And for my writings, I have to write 2,000 words. Okay, but my plans, I make by hand. Okay, everything by hand, but it's personal. Okay, some people like to type, so you can do that. So that's one secret. Secret number 2, revise your test, revise your writing, revise your essay. Again, it sounds obvious. Yes, Fabi, I finished writing. I'm going to read again. Well, first of all, lots of people forget to do it. That's why I'm telling you it's a secret, because lots of people forget it. That's why I'm here telling you. My students forget it, and I tell them all the time. Okay, so you have to. You should never give someone something that you wrote that you haven't read yourself. Guys, when you read it again, you are able to find so many mistakes. Okay, so this is my secret number 2, revise. However, it's not just read. If you know your mistakes, oh, I always forget the plural. Oh, my spelling is really bad. You see, when you know your common mistakes, you go and you check and you revise, focusing on your mistakes. That's what you should be doing. And that's what not a lot of people are doing. Most people are not even checking their writings. They're not even reading after they finish. All right, guys. So these are the 2 secrets I have to share with you. Make a plan. Okay, but a proper plan, not just a few things, okay? And revise your essay, but revise your essay based on your common mistakes so you can go straight to them and fix them. All right, that's me for today. Oh, we talked about so many things today, huh? Talked about so many things. And guys, if you have any friends who are struggling with the IELTS test, send them this live. Okay, so this will be forever on YouTube. You can go to Fabi English on YouTube and you can watch this. Just share the link with people who would be interested in this. Okay. And also, if you know anyone who's thinking about living abroad, studying abroad, working abroad, they need the IELTS test, guys. Tell them about the IELTS Booster Workshop. Tell them about it. Okay. So if you want to know more about the IELTS test, please, the link will be below. If you're watching me on YouTube, if you're watching me on Instagram, you can type join here in the comments, or you can go and you can, sorry, you can go to the bio. Okay. Oh, someone from Colombia just arrived. Hello. All right. Okay. So I'll be back tomorrow. Okay. I'm back tomorrow and I'll see you then. All right. Bye.